that you have been kind of really carrying the torch of let us go deep into studying the plants. Let us really learn by learning with the plants and from the plants, and really bringing that forth in such a strong way. So tell us a bit about what you know about Dr. Bach's connection with nature and how he had that sensitivity to listen to the plants. Yeah.
Well, before I go there, I would say that when I was in Australia, because people were interested and I was already giving classes and discussing the Bach flower remedies. And one day it just occurred to me that in Australia, the flora, the plants are totally different. And I mean, I could discuss this at length, but I can see that you understand what I'm saying. It's a different continent on the other side of the world, and plants grow differently according to different places. And then I realized or recognized that I didn't really know very much about the flowers that are in Bach flower remedies. I didn't understand them. I maybe knew their name, but I didn't understand how they grew or what was really the expression of their being, let me say, because I have a being, I suppose. I have a dog who's got a being, I suppose. Well, I don't really, but you know what I mean. And when I go out and look at the trees and the plants, I think they have a being. Exactly what that means is something that I think we have a lot of work to do in order to understand. So the question came in reply to your statement just now. Well, how did Dr. Bach actually investigate that? What led him towards looking at or to try to understand what is the essential being of a plant, and how does that relate to our attempt to use it as a flower remedy? That's not an easy, and it's not a straightforward question, and you don't get quick answers. If you're a mathematician and you say E equals mc squared or whatever, that's a formula, whatever it may mean. But if you say to an oak tree, who are you? Well, first of all, the oak tree is living on a different time plane to you and I. I mean, I'm breathing now. About 3 or 4 seconds in and out, whatever it is. But a tree or a plant actually breathes in and out every 24 hours. So their time frame is different. Their individual consciousness is different. So maybe we need to work with a different language in order to understand what that really means. Now, how did Dr. Bach get to that point? Well, we know very little really about what happened to him in his earlier life. The only biography we have is Nora Weeks. And she wasn't really, if I can say it, she wasn't objective in her account of what happened to Bach. What we do know is that he was, as a young man, living in the Midlands in north of Birmingham. And he actually was wandering around locally to a place called Moseley Bog, where there was a lot of wet water and it was open ground because they couldn't farm it. And curiously to me, the other person who used to walk in that place as a youngster was J.R. Tolkien. Do you know him? So when you read J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, and he talks about the trees, the Ents, who are kind of filled with personality, although they're working at a different speed. Very important that. Now, whether or not Bach had any contact with Tolkien, I don't know, but we do know that they lived very close together in this particular place. And of course, there could be some speculation about Edward Bach's links to Wales and what that might mean, but who knows? I mean, I'm partly Welsh, and when I was a child, we used to go to holidays every year, well, not just once a year, to Wales. And I could say, well, that was absolutely formative in my experience of perception of, well, just about everything, actually. Because when you walk, and we used to walk without maps, we never had maps, we just used to go. And you walk in the mountains up onto the peaks and the wild, you don't even know that you're learning. It's just, it's a part of you, it's part of your being. Now, whether that is the way that Bach would see it, I can't say, but I think it's very likely. Now, when you track his route of journeys in the 1930s, or 1928, 1930, 1931, and you see where he went and what he did in the discovery of the remedies. I mean, if you took the same journey, and in many cases I have, you can see, if you like, what he saw. Now, it just happened when I came back from Australia, I went to live, for a variety of reasons, just north of Abergavenny. And Abergavenny is 6 or 7 miles, or however many kilometers you work with, I don't know, to the, well, Krakow is just to the west, down the river Usk. And I was there, and only just like it occurred to me afterwards, wait a minute, this is where he was in September 1928, walking along the river and finding impatiens and clematis and mimulus. So actually, suddenly I was in the same place in a different time. I mean, decades later. But the plants are still there, and the perception is still alive. And it's not just to me, it's to anybody who cares to look. I mean, we tend to think, oh, he was a special person. He had some insight or inspiration. Yeah, actually, I can understand that point of view in the 1920s and 30s. But from my perspective, everybody who walks that place can see the same things and come to similar conclusions, the process of self-discovery. Now, I don't know whether that makes sense, what I'm saying, but it's actually what has been my life experience.
This is a compelling story, and the process of walking in Bach's footsteps. It's just this time frame of, he was doing it in this time frame, and you're doing it in this time frame, and future generations will do it in their own time frame. To me, this is the whole structure of the system, is that it's not about one person's inspiration that everyone else has to fall in line with. It's a living, breathing, ecosystem of personalities surrounding us. These herbs in the field are surrounding us, and they're constantly in communication. And so it's to me, that's the real brilliance of this system and of your work walking down this path and developing even more.
What you said was they're constantly in communication. Now, I don't know, let's say I'm deaf and I have a child, and the child is shouting to me, Julian, Julian, do pay attention, but I'm not looking at them. Then I don't hear because I'm deaf. But if I once turn and look, then I can see that actually it's calling for my attention. And I think, I mean, the way I chose it like that is because flowers and trees and all the plant world, they don't speak. They don't actually verbalize. But what actually they do verbalize, but it's not spoken, is their being by what they actually, how they grow, what they do. So for me, the process of plant observation tells you what the real experience is that they are sharing as a part of life.